It's John here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about on-page SEO, which stands for search engine optimization. Now if you're fairly new at blogging, you might have come across this, you might not, but what I will say is on-page SEO is something that you can control. It's fairly easy to do. It's like you pretty much have a list and you make sure every single one is ticked off and that you've followed the process. If you do that, you have a much better chance of ranking for thousands of more keywords. You'll probably generate thousands more in traffic. And what I like about it is it's something that we can actually control. When you're doing things like link building, which is off-page SEO, there's a lot of things that we don't have control over. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about on-page SEO. Now, this is a process that I use to make sure that I have the best chance of ranking my articles on Google and other search engines. Now, what I will say is I take 5 to 10 minutes out of each article before pressing that publish button to make sure I've covered all these points that I'm going to point out in this video that I make sure I have done if it's needed. Now, I don't do every single one of them. I do quite a few of them. Some of them are relevant, some of them are not. But I always make sure I've checked through every single one to give myself the best chance of ranking, and more importantly, so that Google knows exactly what the article is about so that it can rank it for keywords that's actually going to help the reader and the people that are actually searching on Google. Now, by following this process that I use for every single article, it can be the difference between ranking at number 1, 2 and 3 at the top of Google to ranking at the very bottom of Google or simply not ranking at all. Now, the first one is search intent. Now, when I say search intent, what I'm talking about is when somebody searches on Google, what are they actually looking for? So as an example, if someone's searching, can I leave my Labrador at home alone? There's no point in you trying to write an article on that subject, but then starting the article with the history of Labradors, or what's the favourite food of Labradors, or do Labradors make good pets? You want to really get in there and answer that question straight away. Now, the second one is formatting. So it's very important that you format your article in the correct way. Now, what I mean by this is what I usually do before doing an article. I know what the topic is, I know what my query is that I'm trying to rank for, what I'm going to write an article on. So now I want to know, how is that article formatted on the top search results for the articles that are already ranking? Are they listicles? Are they buyer's guide? Are they reviews? So you really want to look at what is actually ranking, because that gives you an idea of what Google is looking for in an article on that search query or topic. Now, number 3 is try to include your keyword, your target keyword, in the title, preferably at the beginning. If you can't, because it don't make sense, then don't put it at the beginning, but try your best to have that keyword that you're targeting in your title. What I also like to do is I also like to make sure that my title is no longer than 60 characters. The reason I like to do this is because Google is starting to pick up on the titles and use them as the meta title in the Google search results. So by keeping it under 60 characters, it means that if I write a title that's longer than 60 characters and they put it in the search results, it's going to cut half of it off and it might not make sense. So I like to make sure that the title now is less than 60 characters so that if Google chooses to show my title in the search results, then it's showing the whole title. Now, the next tip is to make sure that the post URL includes your target keyword or key phrase. Now, I like to do this, I like to keep it as short as possible so that Google fully understands what this article is targeting and what it's about. The other reason I like to have it short is because if you have a really long URL, when it displays that in search results, I think to the user it can look a little bit off-putting if they see this big long URL in the search results. So I try and keep the URL as short as possible. If you're enjoying this video at the moment, don't forget to give it a like, because it really does help me out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click that little bell to get notified every time I release a new video just like this. Now, my next tip, or my next thing that I tick off to make sure I've done, is I make sure I've used the correct H1, H2 and H3 tags and even H4 tags. Now, this helps Google understand what the article is about. I also try to include my keywords or related keywords within these H1 titles and H2 and H3s. This makes the articles more scannable. People can quickly read through it and they can see what each section is about, so they can see exactly what they need, find the information they need. Like I said, Google also fully understands what the article is about. So yeah, make use of the H1s, H2 and H3 tags and try to include some of your keywords and related keywords. Now, the next thing I do is, especially if there's a lot of text, I break that up with nice images. Now, the one thing you need to do when you put in images onto your blog, make sure you make use of the alt tags. Now, the alt tags, I also try to include some of my keywords in the alt tags, because again, this is an indication to Google of what this article is about. And not only that, when you put the alt tags into the images, now if for some reason they can't see the images, then they can at least read the alt tag and they get an idea of what the image is about as well. Now the next thing I make sure I've done is I've tried to include my target keyword in the first paragraph or the second paragraph, and I also usually try and include it towards the end of the article. Again, this helps Google understand what the article is about. It's at the top, it's at the bottom. Now what I would be aware of, you don't want to do any keyword stuffing, so you only put it in if it's natural. But usually, I can usually work it into the beginning of the article and towards the end of the article, and it's a good indication and a reminder to Google that this is what this article is actually about. Now the next thing I check that I have done is I make sure that I've linked to other articles on my site that are absolutely relevant. Now they must be relevant, I will stress that. But what this does is it passes link juice, so links that are going to other pages, it passes it through to other pages on your site and also helps them rank better. It also helps the user because you can use keyword rich anchor text. And what this does is the user, if they're unsure what something's about or they want to follow up on the topic further, they click on that link and they go to another article on your page that then helps them understand what the article is about. Remember to always open them up in a new window so they can carry on reading the article that they're already reading. And don't forget to make sure it's a follow link when you're going to link from article to article. Now, the next thing I always check I've done, where relevant, I actually check that I've linked out to other quality sites that show that I've actually done the research. So what this is, it's like proof of research really to Google. Google sees that you've done an article, might be a buyer's guide, you link out to another professional article, perhaps a brand or something like that, perhaps Wikipedia, something that is a trusted site, a trusted brand, because it shows Google that you've done the research and it really does help ranking. Now that is something else that I think is underrated, but I definitely would do follow links and rank out to these other sites that really just prove that you've done the research and this is a well-researched piece of information and article. Now the next thing to do is LSI, and to make sure I've included related keywords within the article. Now this gives context to the article and it further shows Google what this article is about. It helps Google understand the article. It also helps you rank for more keywords by including these relevant keywords. Now what I will say is there's usually not too many that I have to try and put in there. Sometimes I don't need to try and put any keywords in, because usually if you're writing an article and you've done the research, they're usually included naturally as you're writing an article and doing research and putting it together. Now the next thing I try and make sure I've done is that I've included a video or two, I've included tables, I've included graphs, things like that. Now the reason I do this is it helps break up an article if there's a lot of text, but also it helps attract links. People will often take a screenshot of a graph I've done or a table I've done, and then they will use it on their own site, and then they will link back to my site because they're saying that I was the source of that graph or that article. So that is another good tip there. I also do it with the images. I can get custom images. Sometimes people take them images and they will use them images on their own site, and again they will link back to my site. So it's a good way of getting links naturally as well. So that also helps you rank and helps the user experience. It increases the amount of time people spend on your site, reduces the bounce rate. Now these are all things that indicate to Google that this is a good page. So if you can include videos, graphs, custom images that you've took yourself, they are all good pointers, and they're all things that I check that I've done before publishing an article. Something else I make sure I've done, and not everybody's going to agree with this, but I make sure I've got a meta title and a meta description. Now I know what you're going to say, John, but isn't Google just making its own meta descriptions and titles now, putting it in? And in some cases I've seen this and it does, but I still think that you should put a meta title in and a meta description in. The reason being, I have noticed sometimes where I've forgotten to actually put the meta description in, I've noticed it's pulled up a meta description, but it doesn't really make sense, or it's done a title and it don't really make sense. And then I've gone onto the article, I put in a meta title or meta description, Google has picked that up, and all of a sudden it's showing that meta title and meta description that I put in. If I at least give them the option, then the option's there for them to say, yeah, we'll use your meta description, John, for this article, or no, we think we can do a better job, Google might think, and then they might do their own custom description and custom meta title as well. But I do make sure that I at least give them the choice. Now, the last thing I do is I go through the top results of Google and look through other articles, and I look for things that I think I have missed on my article that might help me rank. So what I do, I go through the article, and if I see something that a couple of the articles have talked about, or the top articles talked about, but I've not included them in my article, as long as I think it's relevant to the article and it's not just fluff, then I might choose to do a bit more research and add that last little bit into my own article and include a section about that same topic. The reason being is it may help me rank. I may rank for more keywords. Google may see that as a topic that's relevant to what my article is about, so help me rank better. So that's the last thing that I do. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful. If you have, don't forget to give it a like, as it really does help me out. Subscribe to the channel and click that little bell if you want to get notified of more videos just like this. And that's it for now. Thanks for watching.